Hey, this is Julia Rebecca Myron, aka The Messy Meditator, and this is the Messy Meditator podcast, where I'll be getting into the topics of mindfulness, messiness, and life. So let's get into it. Let's talk about stress, baby. So I think it can be easy to think that the goal is to strive to be stress-free. And I think that's something that we need to be careful of because the brain actually likes a little bit of stress. It doesn't do well with no stress. It just depends on the type of stress and how much of it. So there's good stress, which is called eustress, and then there's bad stress, which is like distress and what we typically think of as stress. Good stress can be things like learning something new, being challenged in positive and healthy ways. And one of the best examples of good stress that I can think of is exercise. Exercise is a form of intentionally stressing our bodies, putting stress on our bodies to lift a little bit more weight, to run, to get our hearts pumping. We're intentionally putting stress on our bodies so that our bodies can build up resilience, really. And exercise is one of the best things that we can do for our bodies, just across the board. But even that, you can't overdo it, right? If you exercise too much, and if you don't give yourself a break, you will break. So the goal isn't necessarily to be stress-free. It's about learning how to manage our stress and learning healthy ways to respond to stressors. And mindfulness is one of the ways that we can do that. We can start to learn how to respond to our stressors in a different way. And eventually, with enough practice, even make different types of decisions that change which stressors we allow into our lives, which ones we're willing to put up with, what we want to do about it, and just start to have better decision-making skills and discernment. And so one of the ways that we can start to learn how to do this, how to change our relationship to stress and stressors and make different decisions about different stressors and learn how to respond differently is through meditation. Because if you sit in meditation enough, you will come up against a lot of types of things that you encounter in life, and you can start to see examples of how you react versus choosing how to respond. And it takes a lot of practice. It takes slowing way the fuck down and getting present and paying attention, because we walk through our lives on autopilot and our brains do that to conserve energy. That does and has served a purpose in our existence and in our evolution. It's just that our world has gotten so fast moving and accelerated way past human capacity. And so we're just constantly trying to keep up, and we get so disconnected from just being present. And if we weren't on autopilot all the time, the amount of energy it would take our brains to be paying attention to every single thing all the time, it could get exhausting. And so that's why slowing down, sitting in meditation where you don't have all of the different elements competing for our attention, and we can just learn how to pay attention in a much more meaningful and constructive way. And then through that practice, we do start to become more aware and gain insights and realize perhaps how exhausted we are and what we need to prune from our lives and what we actually do and don't have capacity for. And this can take a very long time. So then once we start to reshape our lives based on the awareness that we have cultivated from paying attention in this contrived way, then when we are paying attention to our entire lives, it isn't as exhausting because we've started operating in different ways that make paying attention more grounding. And so, for example, this is something that you'll hear me talk about a lot. When we experience something unpleasant, our autopilot knee-jerk reaction and impulse is to try to make it go away. And a lot of times we might not have control. Most of the time, we're not going to have control over some of the things that we experience, but yet we still try to fight it. And it's a losing battle. And so now we're not just having the original unpleasant experience. We're now at war with ourselves and trying to fight having the experience that we're already having anyway. And so that can feel stressful. And then you go out into the world with that feeling, carrying that feeling. And then any other unpleasant experiences that we come up against, everything just keeps compounding and compounding. And so when we can learn to just be and let the experiences come and go like the weather, and you can listen to some of my other episodes that go deeper into that because there are caveats, that's how we start to manage stress in a different way. And this can be such challenging work when we've spent our whole lives trying to avoid unpleasant feelings, and we live in a culture that is designed around not allowing anything unpleasant and all kinds of products and services designed to sell to you so that you don't have to experience something unpleasant. To actually sit and allow that can be intense. And that's why it's really important to have support. And so that's all to lead to something that I want to share, which is a program that I'm going to be teaching called Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction, MBSR. MBSR is a 8-week program. It is a intensive, standardized, evidence-based program developed by John Kabat-Zinn in 1979. It's like the gold standard for mindfulness programs. Pretty much any study that you read about mindfulness, they're talking about MBSR because it is a standardized program. So that's the main one that they study usually for the mindfulness studies. This program is often prescribed, you could say, or recommended by healthcare and mental health practitioners to help with not just stress, but it's actually been shown to be effective for all kinds of things. So stress, chronic illness, chronic pain, addiction, eating disorders, blood pressure, depression and anxiety. In fact, there was a big study a couple of years ago that came out that showed that MBSR was as effective in treating anxiety as the most prescribed anti-anxiety medication out there. And of course, it also is just really great for a general sense of well-being. So like if you're feeling kind of burnt out, feeling like you want to make a change in your life, it can be really good for that as well. MBSR changed my life in profound ways 15 years ago. I cannot imagine what my life would be like and who I would be had I not ever discovered it and experienced it. I might not be alive today, to be totally honest. It really, really saved and changed my life. And it changed who I am, how I view the world, how I experience the world, the relationships in my life, the relationships that are no longer in my life, which is an important one too. I think differently. I make better decisions, generally speaking. I just truly, truly cannot fathom what existence would feel like had I not ever experienced this. So I'm a huge advocate of it just from experience, but I also have gone to school to learn how to teach it. And so I do have a session of MBSR coming up. I'm going to be co-teaching it with Danielle Brockman of Go Cure. And that's going to be starting on June 8th with a required orientation on June 1st. So it's an 8-week program with a separate orientation, and it also includes an all-day retreat as part of the program. So if you want to learn more about it, you can check out my website, themessymeditator.com, and you can check out Danielle's website, theletgocure.com. And if you're thinking about doing it, I encourage you to really consider it because it might just change your life. And to be able to manage stress and stressors in a healthier way, is fucking priceless. And it doesn't mean that we don't get stressed out. I still get stressed out, but you just learn how to manage it in different ways. You change your relationship to your experiences, and that is everything. And I'll be teaching this program again in the future, so it's not the last opportunity, but the price will definitely go up in the future. So right now is a good time to get in on it at its lowest price that it will probably ever be, because 8-week programs like this are often 10 times the amount. So consider giving yourself the gift of stress reduction, stress management, life management, and you'll thank yourself.